welcome to the most excellent 80s movies podcast. It's the podcast that never sleeps because money never sleeps. And you know what else never sleeps? The 80s movies we think we love or might have missed. We go back and watch them with our grown up eyes in this modern era to see how they hold up, whether they do or not. This is Wall Street, a movie selection from 1987.
From the director of Platoon, Wall Street.
The stock is plummeting.
When it hits 18, buy it all.
Something big is going down. I want to know where he goes and what he sees. I want you, pal, to fill out the missing picture.
Mr. Gecko, that's not exactly what I do.
Where you can trade your honor
I could lose my license. That's inside information.
for power.
If you're not inside, you are outside. I know what this guy's all about. Greed.
There is no nobility in poverty anymore, Dad.
Greed is good. Greed works.
What makes you tick, Bud?
The fear of being poor, that's all gonna change. So I'm catching the express. All right, Mr. Gecko, you got me.
Trade your peace of mind
What's in it for moi?
More money than you ever dreamed of.
Just the beginning, pal.
If any trouble does arise, you are on your own. The trail does stop with you.
for a piece of the action.
The richest 1% of this country owns half our country's wealth, $5 trillion.
All it takes is a little inside information,
I don't care where or how you get it.
I think you owe me.
and you can trade everything you believe in
He's using you, kid. You're too blind to see it.
for everything you've ever wanted.
I get a strange call from the SEC. They asked to see my records. This is heavy, Bud.
I don't know where you get your information, son, but I don't like it.
Michael Douglas,
Why do you need to wreck this company?
Because it's wreckable, all right?
Charlie Sheen,
When does it all end, huh? How many yachts can you water ski behind? How much is enough?
Daryl Hannah,
You may find out one day that when you've had money and lost it, it's much worse than never having had it at all.
Martin Sheen,
What I see is a jealous old machinist who can't stand the fact that his son's become more successful than he has.
You see, he's a guy who never measured a man's success by the size of his wallet.
an Oliver Stone film, Wall Street.
So I am Chrissy Lenz, comedian, director of the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona. And with me, as always, is filmmaker Nathan Blackwell.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. And also, speaking of joining us, we have a very special guest today, comedian and doer of all comedy things, Christina Lopez-Hidalgo.
That's
Hello.
me. Hello. Good morning. No, it's not even morning anymore. I'm just in the morning vibe.
That's fine.
Right.
You know, and people can listen to this whenever they want. The money never sleeps, so it's always morning.
Yeah. We'll get into that because I was watching the movie. I was like, how early are they? Wait a minute. They don't go to sleep and they wake up at like 4 a.m. How do you function?
Right. It's all the cocaine.
I always forget about the cocaine.
Yeah. We just did Scarface as the movie before this. So the cocaine is fresh in my mind. So much cocaine.
Oliver Stone.
Oh, Oliver Stone. He likes what he likes.
I mean, as a Cuban American, I've never seen Scarface, and I just needed to admit that to the universe.
Well, you should have been our guest for that one. Jeez. You could have given us all the insight. I do recommend you see it, but it's not a flattering portrait.
There's not a lot of Cubans playing Cuban Americans.
No.
I think there's only one, in fact. I think there's one.
I think Andy Garcia was booked that week. Like,
yeah.
Do it. God.
Oh boy. So I have never seen this movie. I never had a reason to see this movie, so this was a fresh one for me. What about for you, Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen scenes, but I realized that I have also not seen this movie before as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not all the way through. I mean, maybe, it must have been just scenes because it's got, you know, some classic lines,
Right.
especially like with the Gordon Gecko character, which a lot of people like, responded to. But no, this is my first time.
And I know it's your first time too, right, Christina?
I've seen it before. Don't ask me when or where. I
Mm-hmm.
want to say I saw it when the remake or like the sequel came out.
Oh, sure.
And I think, but I was like, okay, all right. And I just, it was, oh, it's so sad. But as a person who has zero interest in the market in Wall
Mm-hmm.
Street,
Mhm.
it was kind of forgettable in the moment. I was like, I should watch this again. That's when I did. I was like, okay, I see what they did, but also not for me. Not for me.
Yeah.
That's fine.
None of my interests are being piqued, and I'm pretty into home decor. You think they could
Whoa.
have got me on that
Yo.
stuff?
Yo, that scene is the most 80s thing that I have ever seen. Oh, there's enough gold leaf over there. Said no one ever in the 80s. Said
Right.
nobody ever. It was so much pastel. Oh my
Ugh.
god. It was
He's got every treatment. He's got like faux brick. He's got gold leaf. He's got crown molding. It's like she did all her moves in that
oh,
space.
I
Well,
mean,
I feel like it's also part of on purpose of that these rich people have no taste. You
Right.
know.
And they don't know when, they have no boundaries. They don't know when to say when.
Mhm.
So if they can have
It's
crown
not like
molding and gold leaf.
it's not like he's expressing his own desires. He's paying someone to decorate his own home himself without any direction.
she said that in the beginning when she's talking about the artwork and this and that and like and how it doesn't go together. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like he spent so much money on it to display it. So of course, like that, of course, it's just throw my money on the wall to show people how much I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never got the sense that like Gordon Gecko like loves art, but he just has a bunch of it on there as a display.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he knows an interior decorator. So that's how you know you're really rich, because we poor people just decorate our own houses.
Yeah, as somebody who just redid their dining room, who spent time on Etsy looking at walls, like I've got a neon, aka LED sign. I spent a lot of time on my own cultivating my space.
Good.
So to watch them just like take care of it, I'm gonna go screw people over. Like fascinating to me as a plebe, truly.
Yes. And all of the Wall Street stuff too. Like it means nothing to me, and that's where our movie starts, right? I love that they're playing "Fly Me to the Moon" as we watch the sort of grumpy parts of 1987 New York, right? With
Mhm.
very grumpy 80s hair and shoulder pads taking up a lot of space in the subway, like the docks, like the people smooshing into the elevator, everyone being like, good morning, good morning, good morning. But they're all very grumpy. I loved looking at the 80s computers though.
Oh yeah, this is so wonderful in terms of just like the 80s technology and the 80s office.
It is.
I feel like this, like when you have lower budget movies, I do feel like this was a lower budget movie that hit big, or
Mhm.
Yeah.
bigger. That you can't craft the style, and you have a lot more of just bring three pairs of outfits and we'll pick one, where it's like it's more of the locations they can't transform necessarily. They're using people's clothes. Like I feel like the lower budget stuff is almost more reflective of like what people are actually wearing and looking like in those times.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it, and I like their desk decor.
No, I'm just like thinking about it all. Like it's so fun as like someone who spends time looking at film, like the remakes to the time. Like say if you made a movie about the 80s now and how they like pay homage with everything versus in the 80s it was just like a second thought, like
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, they should probably be wearing ties, they should probably have their hair slicked back. Like it's just what it was. It was effortless.
Yeah, great observation too. I would love to have been a set decorator in this opening sort of boiler room scene. Where Charlie Sheen's job, and he works alongside John C. McGinley, who is
Love
quite
him.
charming in this
Love
movie.
him. Love that man.
They're cold callers. They're stock sellers and cold callers, which is apparently good money, but not Gordon Gekko money. So Charlie Sheen's character has a sort of secret he's got like a vision board, and not really, but he's got this like deep want to be friends with Gordon Gekko. So every day he calls Gordon Gekko's office to try and get a meeting with him. Right, try and get 5 minutes of his time. And then finally, oh, well, I completely skipped the part where he has lunch with his dad. So we meet his dad, who's his dad.
Martin Sheen. Adorable man.
And they're just sitting there being cute together. And he's got to borrow money from his dad because he fucked up a trade. Right?
Yeah. He messed up a trade where like he didn't. It's kind of like a contractor. Like you pay the contractor and then they do the work. So Charlie Sheen or Bud Fox did the work, but the guy never paid him.
Right.
So he had to cover the bill.
Ugh, which sucks.
Yeah, he said it was like $7,000.
Yeah,
in 1987.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah.
And the line he keeps saying is, the guy DK'd me, which meant didn't know who he was. What? I was so confused by all of the stock market stuff. I like literally just let it wash over me.
It's like being in again, like I have a science background, listening to any economics or anything. I'm like, you might as well be speaking Greek. You might as well be speaking Mandarin because I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. But we learn at the dinner with his dad that he's made $50,000. You know, he makes $50,000 a year, which in 1987 can't be that bad of a paycheck. But he's like, I got to buy suits, Dad. I can't save money or pay my student loans.
And also, like, his apartment is pretty small. You know, like he is at this point just able to get, he's just treading water at this point.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Christina?
Okay, I pulled out Google. $50,000 in 1987 is equivalent in purchasing power to about $130,632 today.
That's a good job. He's got a good job.
Yeah.
He should be paying off his student loans. That's more than I make,
Yeah, agreed. Also, his student loans probably are nothing in the 80s also.
I know. He's got $20,000 he's got to pay off. And he's like, I don't feel like it.
Okay.
I gotta buy suits.
Okay. You made your bed, sir.
I did love the part and his dad. So we immediately in that scene between him and his dad get the sense that like Charlie Sheen wants to be a muckety muck, and Charlie Sheen's dad, who works for an airline and is like a union rep guy, is like, hey, the only person you got to make proud, it's yourself. You got to be proud of. You just got to be proud of yourself. Finally he gets to meet Gordon Gekko, but before that there's a scene where he's in his apartment and there's like a naked girl in there, so it's our first boobs of the movie. But he's like, he pulls up his Google calendar and it's like it looks like the Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I like how it played Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
Bling, 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 bling.
That's pretty advanced 1987 computer technology for it to like be what Facebook is for me and tell you when it's someone important's birthday.
Yeah, that probably didn't exist for like another 6 years.
Real Wall Street people were watching this movie going, what?
Where can I get that?
Will it tell me when it's really Michael Douglas's birthday? So it's Gordon Gekko's birthday, and so today's the day. He's gonna go shoot his shot. He takes some Cuban cigars down, and he finally gets to meet GG, Gordon Gekko. What did you guys think of this reveal of Michael Douglas?
I mean, just quintessential. The whole like suspenders, the white collar with the blue shirt, slick back hair in this gaudy office, talking like having like 9 different conversations on 9 different phone lines, like just of course.
Yeah, you really felt like you were with babyface Charlie Sheen, like being kind of like dumped into this room. I felt like Oliver Stone did a really good job of just kind of putting us in his place, in his perspective, as he kind of like steps into this office, and there's so much going on that's not explained. You know, you do feel that Michael Douglas is willing to kind of like, you know, spin his wheels just a bit, but he only gets maybe about 5 minutes and then he's out. You know, like he's giving him the benefit of the doubt for a brief moment, but he's starting to get impatient.
Oh yeah.
He's also like he's a giver and a taker. He's like, oh, I'll give you a little peek, I'll give you a little taste, I'll let you wet your beak into being friends with me, but if you don't impress me right away, I'm gonna kick you right out. He shreds other people's birthday cards that they sent him. He's like, tell me something I don't know, kid. And he decides to reveal that he knows that his father's airline company, Blue Star, is going to settle a lawsuit, and only he knows, nobody knows. So he's insider trading.
Yeah, so this begins the whole thread of insider trading being Charlie Sheen's in. You know, like what Gordon Gekko really wants is he wants agents, he wants operatives, you know.
Like literally he wants agents and operatives. So he gives him a little taste, right? He's like, I'll let you invest, what is it, $100,000?
I think it's $1 million.
Is it $1 million?
It's what's the check that he gives him at the restaurant?
Yeah,
when they go to the restaurant and he's got a tiny TV. He's like, look at this, I got a tiny TV.
Yeah. Yes.
And they eat steak tartare. He eats like raw meatloaf.
Yeah.
And he gives him a check. Maybe it is $1 million. I think you're right, Christina.
Okay.
And he's like, play with this and show me what you can do. Of course, the first thing he does is lose a bunch of money.
Yep.
And Gordon Gekko is like, you know, boo, kiddo. If you want to hang out with and so they hop into a cab, right? They're in a cab, not like a limo. Oh no, he sends the woman to him.
Yes.
And the woman, he rides in the car with the woman, and they do coke and have sex in a cab, which seems real gross to me.
I mean, I feel is that designed as a place? Like okay, this is what's gonna happen. Avert your eyes.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like that was planned ahead of time.
Yeah. That cab driver got like an extra $20 bill. He's just like, ugh, you Wall Street people are gross.
Plus, it's an 80s thing.
Yeah, that like age of opulence.
So much. This is such a great 80s movie because there is this kind of like this me generation thing of like the yuppie power, you know, just becoming mythologized at this point, you know,
right?
You know, that you have all this purchasing power and the new thing to you know to strive for are these, you know, the car with the cell phone in it, and then the private limo, and you know, and then all this other stuff. Like this movie really kind of hacking at that mythology,
right? But it buys into it in all of these ways, you know, because after he loses the money, they go play racquetball together, and he's like, you gotta play hard, kid. And they go in the sauna, and he's like, you gotta sauna hard, kid.
You sauna
hard. He tells them that he should be reading Sun Tzu's The Art of War. They go on a drive. He's like, I bought these buildings, yada, yada. I did all these deals. And if you want to still be in my good graces, then you have to literally follow, like a spy, this guy, Wildman. And he's like, that's insider trading. I can't do that. And he's like, well, if you're not inside, you're outside. And he kicks him out of the cab. And he says, I thought it was really poignant what he says, because he's like, all right, Mr. Gecko, you've got me. And it's like, yeah, he's got you. Like, he's got you for so much more than just doing his bidding. He's got you now in his like thrall, essentially.
Yeah. It's just like, it's a fascinating, and it's beautiful. I think the way that Martin Sheen plays his dad, and is like the blue collar, like work with your hands, like be proud, like build,
make something.
Yeah, like he kept saying, you got to build stuff, you got to make stuff, versus just buy and trade. And that it's like that. Obviously, it's two sides of the spectrum between Michael Douglas and Martin Sheen, but like it's that choice that he has to make. Of like, I could be a salt of the earth kind of guy, raise a family, live modestly, be happy with that. But like that choice of what we thought was happiness back then was this a stupid amount of money, live by the sword, die by the sword,
in an ugly apartment.
just at all costs get to the top. It's a fascinating like show of what the cost is.
Yeah. And Michael Douglas even says, I create nothing. I own and sell things.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Lou, the guy who's friends with Michael Douglas's dad, is like, there's no shortcuts, kiddo. And his take on that is like, look, first I'll get the money, then I'll do some good.
Yeah.
First I'll get to the top, then I'll remember that I'm supposed to have morals. I'll get to the top of the money and cocaine mountain, and that's where I'll find my moral compass.
First I get the money, then I get the power, and then I get the morals.
Yeah, I think that's how it works. That's exactly how it went for Scarface. There's a beautiful montage where it's like buying, selling, stock. They do something to screw over the Wildman guy, because he goes to Gordon Gekko's house. We meet Sean Young, who I love as a character. She's just like the flippity jippet wife. We meet Daryl Hannah, who's the interior decorator. There is a robot in the house, just like in Rocky IV.
Yes, I wrote that down. Robot, Rocky IV.
Is that one of your 4 notes, Nathan?
Yes.
Robot.
It is.
He's also got a bunch of guns in his Art of War office. And they go back and forth with him and the guy who sells Infinity Q45s. Is he the High Sparrow too from Game of Thrones, or am I mixing him up?
The Terrence Stamp?
Yeah, Terrence Stamp. Is he in Game of Thrones?
Oh, is he? No, I don't think he's Zod in Superman 2 for sure.
Oh.
But yeah, Terrence Stamp is always good.
So we were talking about how Michael Douglas won many, many, many awards, including Oscar and Golden Globe, for his performance in this movie. And I think the best part of his performance is in the next scene, where the money never sleeps scene, where he's calling him while watching the sunrise from his beach house. And he's just like, you gotta have a beach house. The sunrise is beautiful. I think that's his best scene.
Yeah, he's so good. Gordon Gekko is so good at being seductive, of just luring Charlie Sheen in. And I think a lot of people just really not only just loved the character and Michael Douglas's performance, but we had never seen him really be this like a bad guy, like a bit in Fatal Attraction, But before this, it was like Romancing the Stone and seeing him as very much the protagonist. And so I think this really just excited a lot of people, which is why he won the Oscar.
Yeah.
It's when you flip a role like that, it's like, what? That's when everyone hated The Irishman, but I loved it because Joe Pesci was that mild, quiet character, and I was like, he can do this? He's amazing.
He's amazing.
He's so good.
So the guy
Sorry.
I was thinking of, the High Sparrow, is Jonathan Pryce. So
right. No.
Different human, also delightful.
Different charming British man. Not all charming British men are the same, Chrissy. Oh my
How
God.
dare you? When he said like money never sleeps, to Nathan's point, that was a scene I was like, he literally spent all night with partying with like his secret lovers, like all these people in a room, and then he's up at 4 a.m. walking on the beach in his bathrobe on his it's that, again, that's showing the opulence and showing the cutthroatness, the like just lethal drive.
But who has that much energy? Like,
again,
talk about the lethal drive. Yeah, exactly. If that's the kind of life you got to live, it's like, to me, you get the money so you can relax. So you don't have to work. But for these guys, it's like, no, you get the money so that after work you can drive dune buggies on the beach and annoy everyone else.
Yeah, oh God. Yeah, but like that's what I mean. He says greed is good. That's the big. I think also that has symbolism that his initials are GG, greed, like Gordon Gekko. But it's a different mindset. So that if you are, hey, I want to get $50 million so I can retire, pay off my parents' house, whatever plans you have for it. Great, right? That's not enough for him. Like it'll never be enough money. It will never be enough beach houses. It'll never be enough $2 million art pieces. Like he will never stop.
Right. He just wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he wants to do. He just wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of like Scarface. Scarface had the biggest mountain of cocaine that anyone could ever hope for in their heart of hearts, and he still wanted more. The world is yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
The important thing to remember is that James Spader is in this movie.
Oh, little baby James. He's so young.
And he's so like, what's in it for moi? And I'm just like, oh, James Spader. You are really selling me this role. And he's a lawyer who gets involved in the insider trading. So now we're off to the races. Charlie Sheen is very comfortable in his role of being a corporate spy. He poses as a janitor to get inside information at James Spader's company. He's doing all of this insider trading, but now he's like using his friends to do the trades. Is that right?
Yes, it's like a vessel.
Splitting it up. Yeah, he's splitting it all around, so it's just not one direct line leading to him.
Right. But Gordon Gekko, as he's welcoming him further and further into his world, and he's like dating Daryl Hannah and like hanging out with them at the beach house and stuff, he makes it very clear. The lawyer even says the trail stops with you. Like, you're doing illegal things and it's not going to touch Gordon Gekko. If this goes south, you're the one who's going to get burned. And he's just like, yeah, sounds great.
Because he's so confident, he doesn't think it's going to happen. And that's the greed blinding him again. Like,
So what do you guys think of that speech? That greed is good, greed works, greed is what survival of the fittest is. What do you guys think of that moment?
Well, I think it's great because that it is, not often do you get like a character actually able to vocalize their own personal credo. And so I think that it works there. But it's definitely the double-edged sword of like, this movie, like with Scarface, has the problem of if you make the bad thing look so alluring, and it has to, then the people are going to watch this movie and see that as a positive, and so there's so many, financial bros who use this as their mantra, as their credo,
That greed is good.
Yeah, and it's just the same thing, I think, with some of these other movies that is about seduction and downfall
Mm-hmm.
is that you have to make the thing that they want seductive.
Yeah.
And then I guess these bros just don't watch the last 10 minutes, or I was like, no, but that's not me.
No, because
Yeah.
that's an iconic line in the movie. So they're like, yes. I told a guy at work yesterday, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this podcast. Like, I watched the movie again. He's like, oh, that movie's so good. He's like, I love that line. You want a friend? Get a dog. Like, and that's what he took from the movie. He's like, it's cutthroat. It's about you. You're screw everybody else. And it's, again, it cracks me up, like what people hold on to.
I bet this movie sold so many copies of Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
Oh,
absolutely.
I want to read it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
You know what? They always have Sun Tzu's The Art of War at Barnes and Noble when they come out with those like fancy cover books of like classics. They always have like Jane Austen and like Mary Shelley, and then they have Sun Tzu's The Art of War. So I'll pick you up one next Christmas, Christina.
Delightful. I cannot wait.
There's no awareness that things work both ways, because as these guys are like, you want a friend, get a dog, then they're like, wait a minute, this guy's screwing me over. I'm shocked.
What? I thought he was a saint.
You want a friend, get a robot.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish I could. Believe me, I have a robot vacuum.
Me too. I got one for Christmas, and I was like, my mom told me, she's like, it has a mop feature, and I almost cried. I'm like, oh, my childhood's over because I got a mop, and I was excited about it.
It's true.
Cool.
Welcome to you're practically Gordon Gekko, Christina. I'm so sorry to tell you.
That's actually tragic.
The thing that this movie has that Scarface doesn't have, though, is Martin Sheen, who's like a grounded guy who's like, money's a pain in the ass, because Bud tries to orchestrate this whole deal to have Horton Hecko buy Blue Star Airlines and supposedly do a deal to save the airline and make it profitable. Martin Sheen sees right through it. And he's like, this is a trick, kiddo. Like, I can't go to the men who trust me and say that this Gordon Gekko cat is going to save us, because this is obviously a snake in the grass. Money isn't the most important thing. Loyalty is the most important thing, and being proud of yourself is the most important thing. And Charlie Sheen sort of bites back at him. You just never had the guts to go for a better life or a bigger life. And of course, immediately we realize, yeah, Martin Sheen was 100% right. Michael Douglas is going to part out the company, sell the airlines, and take a huge profit by just liquidating all of the assets. Oopsie doopsie, Charlie Sheen. You just put your dad and all of his friends out of work.
Yep.
Oops.
Well, it's a turning point. He's like, oh, I got fucked. Like, and then that's when it's like that, like the wheels turn, and that's when he moves into this incredible deal of how can I just fuck Gordon over.
Yeah. Which is the fun part, I think. And it's all thanks to James Spader. James Spader is like, please stop calling me. I don't think I like being an insider trader. Let's not have lunch anymore, but please come to this meeting where we're going to reveal the fate of your father's company. So I think James Spader is the secret hero of this movie. And from there on out, it's like, oh, we're going to trick Gordon Gekko. We're going to fuck Gordon Gekko. And he's going to use the guy who is not the High Sparrow. It's Terrence Stamp. It's not Jonathan Pryce, you guys. I can't believe you thought that.
Shame
I apologize.
He uses him. He's like, hey, you want to screw Gordon Gekko? And he's like, actually, I do. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
That sounds really great. And it works. They have this whole conversation about that whole enough is enough conversation. He's like, life is a zero-sum game. If I get it, you don't get it. And that's all there is to it. Daryl Hannah absolutely leaves him.
Yeah. Also, that's fine in my book. Like, she's...
Yeah, she reveals herself as, no, I do care about the money.
Yes.
You know, like, I am a social climber.
Yes.
I am okay with this. You know, like, I'm not cool with going back to the way things used to be for me.
Yes.
Yeah. And she does fuck Gordon Gekko. Like, we learn that they are absolutely having an affair, which is a bummer because I really like Sean Young's character in this movie.
Yeah, like, that's also something that, like, the whole theme of this, like, ivory tower people, that, like, affairs are just common. Like,
Yeah.
there is no monogamy. But then also, how can, like, again, Sean Young and all the other wives, so she's like the woman talking on the couch about this bikini that turned her marriage back 5 years. Like, how do they not know? And how are they still okay with it?
Well, I bet they do know. I bet they know, and they're also choosing the money. They're like, as long as he doesn't divorce me, let him, go bang as many blondes as he wants. I'm tired. I gotta get a nap in.
That's fair, but I'm like, girl, the alimony. Like, go live by yourself and just collect the alimony. It's cool.
I bet Gordon Gekko is never there. They have like the cutest, chubbiest little baby, and it's like I bet they've both seen that kid a total of 20 times.
Oh, bubs!
He's like raised by nannies,
and that's how we got Donald Trump. Let me just point that out. If you would have spent 45 more minutes a day with that man, maybe we would have had the fallout that happened.
Yes. Yes. But you talk about them having time. It's like you got time to like go on these like 3 martini lunches and then go have sex and caviar and cocaine in a hotel room and then go back to work. Like, oh my God. Like, if I do 2 things in a day, I'm like, ugh, I got to get to bed.
That's so true.
But I've never read The Art of War, so
that's one of the things you have to do in the day, and then do the dishes, and then you're spent. You're spent.
Yeah. I've had enough. It's going to take me 3 years to read that book because I bet it's boring as hell.
Find the Cliff Notes. It's fine.
Yeah. So the dad has a heart attack. Martin Sheen has a heart attack. And that's what really solidifies it for Charlie Sheen. He's like, we are going to get Gordon Gekko. But he does I really was moved by the scene where they do the big trick. They do the swaparoo. And then the next day, Charlie Sheen comes to work feeling like $1 million and no one will look him in the eye.
Because they all know.
They all know the cops are waiting to arrest him. And they're all sitting there going, oh, well, we all thought he was doing the insider trading. Turns out we were right. But instead of going to jail, he just ends up in the middle of a grassy field where he lets Gordon Gekko beat him up and confess to him.
To be fair, he's probably still going to jail, but for not as long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's definitely still going to jail.
He says that in the car with his dad and his sister. What was the other woman? I can't remember. In the car at the very end.
Yes.
But yeah, he's like, I'm going to jail. Like, I'm owning what I did.
But he got Gordon Gekko in the end because it was all on tape. He was like, you wanted to meet in the middle of a field, but joke's on you. I've got a 1980s tape recorder.
Yeah.
Which I feel is more of a movie thing than a legal thing.
Probably.
Listen, as a person who watches an obscene amount of Law and Order SVU, like, is The Wire, like, do they have to, hey, you're being recorded? I can't remember what the legality of that is.
Oh, and according to television and movies, like, all you have to do is, like, secretly tape someone. You don't have to be like...
And then you can immediately present it in court.
Yeah. And you can immediately present it to them. Ha ha ha, I got you.
So good.
And it's just the end. That's the end. The end of this movie.
And I mean,
it's a real roller coaster. It goes, I will say this for this movie, it goes up then down real fast.
Yeah. But to be fair, how long was that ride gonna last? Like,
and how long do we think it did last? Less than a year.
For sure. for sure.
6 months, a quarter, a season. Was that the fall? And it was the fall as the season, and I just made a metaphor. I'm so smart. Sun Tzu, come get me. I'm gonna write a book.
I think it was probably like 6 months. I think it started spring, summertime because they're at the beach and all that stuff, and then it was coming into the fall because it was like that mucky, gross weather at the end.
It ends at Christmas. So on a scale of 1 terrible gold leaf wall to 10 terrible gold leaf walls, which is what you want. You want all 10 walls of your house to have terrible gold leaf on them. How many terrible gold leaf walls do you give the movie Wall Street? Now that we've all seen Wall Street, how do we rate it? Nathan, show us how it's done.
It's a tough one because you know that it's good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you enjoyed watching it.
Right.
You know? Like purely on a... Yeah, I mean, it's not like it was ever really like boring or slow, but just in terms of... I get maybe one of the problems with Wall Street is that, you know, when it came out, it like blew open the doors and, you know, and gave everyone a secret view into this world. And since our doors have been blown open
by
several
like
other things, like, like The Big Short, you know?
Love that movie.
Like it was just less of an earthquake watching Wall Street now because we know all this stuff now. None of this stuff is shocking or surprising to us now revisiting it.
Yeah.
So I would rate this much, like I think I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay.
And I would rate it way higher had I watched it in the 80s or not long after, or not. Basically, we're so far down the ripple of this movie that it itself does not have as much effect, you know, like showing a bunch of kids, you know, an early silent film that invented like the Great Train Robbery, invented like cutaways and intercutting, would not have a huge effect on them.
Right.
if they, you know, like compared to like something that Michael Bay did. So I feel like the effect of Wall Street is lessened, you know, and I kind of perused some reviews from back at the time, and this was like a big deal. This was like kicking the doors open, you know?
Yeah.
I like that. And I like that as a 6.5 is like, you appreciate what it did.
Yeah, I don't feel like it did anything wrong, you know?
No, I think it did everything it did quite well.
Yeah, and honestly, like there are movies that we rate way higher that really have shaggy plots. You know, like this is a really well written and executed movie.
Yep.
It's just not fun.
It's just not very fun.
Fair.
What are your thoughts, Christina?
I'm not going to be as generous as Nathan. Let me just say that out loud. Structurally, the film is great. There is something in this whole like film writing that they say the fun and games, and the fun and game parts of like showing the trading and the phone calls, like that is all kind of what it's like a chase scene in a cop movie. Like that's the fun and games. They show us that. They show us that world. It's great. There's some things that are so cheesy, like when he goes on to the balcony of his new condo and he asks, "Who am I?" Like, I'm like, really? Do we need to know that?
Yeah.
Also, I don't know what was Daryl Hannah on vacation. Her acting was rough, and I'm not saying that I am an Academy Award winning actress by far, but I'm like, girl, you're better than this. Like, can you? And so that was hard to get past. But the reason I'm not so I don't know, into like it was good for what it was, is that the pompous bros that take this movie as like scripture still lingers. And so I'm like, ugh, I can't like this. I can't separate that. And so I would say, as anybody watching it new, a 4. Like four gold leaf walls. Like, it's fine to watch on a Sunday afternoon when there's nothing else on. You know, catch it on the cable. But yeah, for what it was back then, yeah, it was great. It was, I mean, Michael Douglas is great. Love Martin Sheen, and I see it as a how not to. Like, keep your nose clean. That's if you interpret it that way, I would give it a higher rating. But I know there's so many people who'd be like, "Yes, this is again, screw everybody else. It's all about me." That sullies my review.
That's a totally valid point of view too. Yeah, Daryl Hannah also got a Razzie. She won a Razzie for worst performance for this. While Michael Douglas is scooping up his Oscars, she's getting a Razzie. But I didn't think Charlie Sheen was very good either. Like, I was like, oh, your acting is so visible.
Yeah, I mean, has he? Again, to be fair, he had a much greater career than I could ever ask for. But has he ever been this, like, oh man, his performance, you know?
I don't know, man. I can't say. He's not good in Young Guns. That's all I know.
No.
He's pretty good in Hot Shots.
Oh, sure. Maybe we should do that one. Is that from the 90s?
Probably.
What about Major League? What's that one?
Oh, yeah,
we did do. Yeah, actually, he was pretty good in Major League.
I liked him in Major League. Yeah. Maybe he's for comedy, not for drama. Then
there it is. Okay.
Yeah, when he can be snide, you know.
Yeah.
Like when he played Boy in Police Station in Ferris Bueller. That was pretty great.
That was his crowning achievement. I really believed him in that role.
He peaked early.
He did. So I'm going to go a little bit higher too, because the way that I was thinking about this was in direct contrast to Scarface. Because this movie is held aloft as such an icon of both, like, oh, the writing, the performances, the greed is good of it all. I thought it went by pretty fast. Even though it took me 2 tries to watch it all.
Oh no.
I thought it was a pretty good movie. Like, I thought it was pretty well paced. I loved the montages. I loved the visible change from slick back hair. You know, bad Charlie Sheen has slick back hair. And as he becomes a better person, it becomes less slick back. And I loved seeing the 80s ness that is so steeped in this movie. So I gave it a 7.
Okay.
And so what about a deep cut recommendation? If people like Wall Street, what do you recommend that they would also like, Nathan?
So I mean, like, the obvious choices are something like Wolf of Wall Street. But if to go a little deeper, I'm gonna go with Glenn Ross. Have you seen that?
Ooh, that has a great speech in it too.
Yeah, so that based on a David Mamet play, but that is like titan of actors, you know. So many great people in that. Let me bring it up just so Al Pacino is in that. Let me make sure I don't get any.
Alec Baldwin does the always be closing speech.
Jack Lemmon, Kevin Spacey, Ed Harris, Alan Arkin. Yeah, it's a great movie just for the performances, but it's very much the same mindset, which is always be selling, always be closing. That's what it is. You know,
ABC, always be closing.
Always be closing. And that mindset of the drive of those people to, you know, like, I think in this case, it's a real estate office and they're selling real estate, but it's the same thing. It's just that amped up need to sell and be successful.
And to be cold calling people and just sales. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Great choice. What's yours, Christina?
Well, it's it's an A to C recommendation.
I love A to C.
There is the opposite side of fighting for the little guy. Like I saw Wall Street very much through Martin Sheen's or Carl Fox's eyes. And so there's a movie that came out in 2020 called Worth. And it is Stanley Tucci and Michael Keaton, I can't remember, Tate Donovan. But it's the true story about a Washington lawyer who fights for the kind of like the death benefits of people lost in the 9/11 attacks.
Oh, wow.
So the people in the Twin Towers that they show in the movie, and kind of establishing what the life of a human is worth.
Wow.
And so I don't think it got a lot of press, but like, I saw it at Sundance. So it was just great. It's really tragic and how we can literally put a price on a human life.
Wow.
And like, because Gordon has this completely different, like, I'll take money over a human in a second. The complete opposite of like, you lost the thing that is absolutely irreplaceable, but we're going to try to make it right.
Wow.
So that one. And there's also another documentary called Dark Money about money in politics. And it's fascinating how people own certain things, and it trickles down the line of how you can be screwed because of the connections, and you just trying to stand up and do the right thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great one. I love that. That's a perfect A to C. I think that's a perfect deep cut recommendation. Which is gonna pair so nicely with mine. Because mine goes A to Z, I think. But I was watching this movie and I was like, I bet their hair is in such bad condition because they're going for that wet look. And like, it has to be so long for you to be able to get that Gordon Gekko slick back look. So my recommendation is a leave-in conditioner. That's going to it really has a lot of surprising amount of hold as well. It's a tea tree hair and body leave-in conditioner. You're gonna get that slick back look that you want with a medium hold, I would say, but it's going to be nourishing your hair as it does. I bet they were using a lot of LA looks.
Oh, so much LA looks, so much Aquanet also.
They were using a lot of glue based.
Yeah. They had no idea about coconut oil back in the day.
They didn't know. So now in these modern times, use tea tree and just take good care of your scalp.
That's right. Like if you are one of these financial bros and we've not convinced you, then hopefully you can at least take this tip to kind of do better.
Yeah.
Drink some water.
Do better for yourself. Self-care.
Yeah.
Sun Tzu in the art of self-care.
If we can't stop you from being you, then at least, conditioner.
Yeah. Christina, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you.
It has been absolutely lovely to have you. Where can people support you and all of your comedy endeavors?
Great question. I'm on Instagram, CLH Improv, and then on Twitter, the same handle. Currently, can I tell the story?
Please.
About Stephen Colbert? Okay, great. So, my dream job is to write late night for Stephen Colbert, because if I could get paid to make fun of politicians, that is the dream. And so I am tweeting him every day monologue jokes or jokes about myself and why I'd be a good person to have in the writing room. And I think I'm on day 240. To no avail. To no avail. Like,
he's your Gordon Gekko.
He is my Gordon Gekko. That's when he said, "Oh, you called me 59 days in a row." I was like, "Oh, do they know? Do they know?" And I did this without knowing that was part of the movie. Anywho, so yes.
Okay.
I have just jokes about politicians and things like that on there, and Yeah, that's it. Because nobody needs my email. I mean, I'm just gonna
No,
send
but I
you
want people to go on
SPF
and start
foundations.
liking those tweets to Stephen Colbert, because the
Thank
more
you.
people who like them, you're gonna get your 5 minutes in the room with your
Thank
Gordon
you.
Gekko.
I would. I mean, that is the hope, the end all. Like, don't stop the good fight, and also show him I can do the job, as Bud Fox
Absolutely.
did with.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the dedication of it, and
Woohoo.
I think that it is such a deeply beautiful thing to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
Kevin McCarthy
Nathan,
was a rich resource.
Nathan, where can people find and support your filmmaking endeavors?
Yeah, if you want to check out the stuff I'm working on, including the low budget feature film that we're now submitting to film festivals, you can go to Squishy Studios at Facebook or the Instagrams or the socials for the that project in specific, which is the last movie ever made, is also on the Facebooks and Instagrams. So
Highly recommend checking that out. It's a really, really cool movie, and I can't wait for everyone to see it. You can find me in the physical place, the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona, and on all of the social medias at Most Excellent Pod. Please like, rate, review, tell a friend, give me a shout out on Facebook. I love that when people do that. It means the world, and it helps our little pod grow. If you want to do the ultimate, then head to True Story FM and become a member. You can support the podcast. And if you are like James Spader and you're asking yourself, what's in it for moi? Then you get the episodes 1 week early. And you can also get bonus content, which we record for each episode. So do that if you feel like you have read Sun Tzu's The Art of War and you're ready to have a zero-sum game of loving the podcast you love. Yeah. So Christina, what's your final thoughts on this movie before we hop into our bonus content?
I mean, it is a pinnacle of morality, and like I don't want that, so I'm gonna be a good person. But also, when my grandmother passed, like we got a bunch of stuff from her house, and we found a whole genealogy sheet.
Ooh.
And so my grandfather's side, so again, my grandparents are Cuban. My dad was born in Havana, but we found this genealogy sheet of my grandfather's side and how he immigrated from Spain. And somebody in the family married an Estevez. And so I might be like Charlie Sheen's 14th cousin. And I'm like, I'm coming to the family reunion. So, because we did the research too, and like their family history is from Spain as well. I was like, we legit could be family. So I was like, those are my people. You guys are great.
Yeah, we got to get
great.
you. We got to get you into the Sheen Estevez clan.
Listen, I'll bring some buffalo dip or some spinach artichoke dip. It's going to be delicious. You make the paella. I'm on board.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So you'll either get in through the Estevez family picnics, or you'll get in through the Colbert tweets.
Listen,
so
roll the dice.
You're gonna make it, kid. Shoot your shot. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We appreciate you. We love you so much. And while you're out there in the world, please keep the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and
Party on,
dude.